Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the inauguration ceremony of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions of the Galle Medical Association. The screens before you showed the accomplishments of the Galle Medical Association Team 2019 under the theme, The Art and Science of Medicine, Enhancing Clinical Excellence with Humane Care. A musical accompaniment will be performed by the students, medical students, who performed earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as the ceremonial procession enters the auditorium. Welcome to the inauguration ceremony of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions of the Galle Medical Association. To commence the proceedings, I would like to invite the following dignitaries to the head table. The President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosh Dissanayake. The Chief Guest, Past President of the British Medical Association, Professor of Medical Sciences, Newcastle, Professor Pali Hungin. The Guest of Honor, eminent cinema personality, Dr. Ravindra Randhaniya. Orator of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions, Senior Lecturer, Department of Anatomy, Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna, Dr. Gayani Alvis, and the Joint Secretaries of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Ganaka Senaratne and Dr. Gayani Linage. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing while they approach the head table. Let us now pay tribute to our motherland with the national anthem and remain standing for the lighting of the traditional oil lamp that will follow immediately.
සැප සිරි සිත සදනා ජීවනයේ මාතා පිළිගනු මැන අප භක්ති පූජා නමෝ නමෝ මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා ඔබේ අප විද්‍යා ඔබමය අප සත්‍යා ඔබ වේ අප ශක්තිය අප හද තුල භක්තිය ඔබ අප ආලෝකේ අපගේ අනුප්‍රාණේ ඔබ අප ජීවන වේ අප මුක්තිය ඔබ වේ නව ජීවන දෙමිනේ නිතින අප පුබුදු කරන් මාතා ඥාන වීර වඩවමින රැගෙන යනු ඇන ජය භූමි කරා එක මවකගේ දරු කැලබැවිනා යමු යමු වී නොපමා ප්‍රේම වඩා සැම වේද දුරරදා නමෝ නමෝ මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා
To light the traditional oil lamp, I invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Disanayaka, the Chief Guest, Professor Pali Hungin, the Guest of Honour, Dr. Ravindra Vandenia, Immediate Past President, Dr. Keshri De Silva, President-elect, Dr. Callum Deshapriya, Orator of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions, Dr. Gayani Alvis, Most Senior Past President, Professor P.L. Arinanda, the Vice-Chancellor, University of Ruhuna, Professor Sujeeva Amarasena, the Vice-Chancellor, University of Colombo, Professor Chandika Vijayaratna, the Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna, Dr. Sarat Kularatna, Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Chandima Siritunga, Director, Teaching Hospital, Mahamodara, Dr. Sumit Manatunga, President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Anula Vijayasundara, President of the Ceylon College of Physicians, Professor Chandani Vanigatunga, President of the Sri Lanka College of Internal Medicine, Professor Tilak Veeratna, representing medical students and the future of the Galle Medical Association, Mr. Lahuru Prasanna Jayawardena, and the Joint Secretaries of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Ganaka Senaratna and Dr. Gayani Liyanage. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may take your seats. I now invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake, to deliver the presidential address.
A very warm and very warm welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the clergy, the guest, the chief guest for this evening, the guest, Professor Pali Hanjin, the guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Randenia, distinguished past presidents, Executive Committee of the Galle Medical Association, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ruhuna, Professor Amarasena, the Directors of Teaching Hospitals Karapitiya and Mahamodara, distinguished invitees, and my dear students. Right, Galle Medical Association, year 2019. The Galle Medical Association is a distinguished professional medical body which has been in existence for 79 years now. And that makes Galle Medical Association the second oldest professional medical organization in Sri Lanka, second only to the Sri Lanka Medical Association. It started in 1940 as the Galle Clinical Society and has evolved into the Galle Medical Association in 1993. And the last president of the Galle Clinical Society, Dr. Liyanarachi, and the first president of the Galle Medical Association, Professor Aryananda, are both honoring us by being present at this occasion. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is an organization which has very proud traditions, which have stood the test of time and lasted for 79 golden years. As of today, we have more than 500 life members in the Galle Medical Association. And the Galle Medical Association 2019 theme, as we set out on this journey, is the art and the science of medicine, enhancing clinical excellence with humane care. The perennial question is medicine an art or science? There is some debate about art versus science, but many believe that it is art and science. There are natural sciences such as biology, physics, and chemistry. There are social sciences like economics, sociology, and psychology. There are formal sciences like mathematics, logic, and theoretical computer science. And then come the applied sciences, where knowledge from natural, social, and formal sciences are applied into the physical world which exists around us. Engineering and medicine are classic examples of applied sciences. But medical is a very unique applied science. Because the outcome in medicine does not depend on mere natural sciences or social sciences. Medical science is applied on human beings, and human beings are very unique. Therefore, for cure, comfort, and relief, the sciences have to be delivered with compassion, kindness, and care. And that is termed the doctor-patient relationship. Therefore, how knowledge and skills acquired through the natural sciences and the social sciences are applied to human beings brings forth the concept of art in the practice of medicine, or the art of medicine. Why, is it merely for the doctor-patient relationship that we need art in medicine? We know, of course, that a more empathic and a humane understanding of patient perceptions and feelings in the doctor-patient relationship leads to excellent outcomes. There is no doubt about that. But what is being increasingly appreciated worldwide and in Sri Lanka are doctors in some ways lead fairly troubled lives. They work in very stressful and demanding environments, and doctor burnout is increasingly gaining significance as a major problem in the health community. Mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, etc., substance use at times, they affect the medical community, and it is believed that incorporating art into the lives, everyday lives of doctors, might help overcome some of these troubles that the healthcare workers are facing as of now. Of course, it is believed, art gives pleasure to everybody, and we will all become better human beings through the arts. A love of arts will not make us a wonderful human being, but even if we are a bad one, we'll become a little less bad through our association with the arts. If we are good, we might become excellent through the association with the arts. The GMA 2019 mission is described as jewels in the crown. Now, I've unashamedly copied the title of a book, a very famous book by Paul Scott, The Jewel in the Crown, and I will describe to you how GMA in the 2019 carried out its mission through different precious jewels. The Galle Medical Association had a number of collaborative academic meetings. The aim of this was mutual learning and sharing of experiences of specialists of different specialties. We had meetings with the Sri Lanka Association of Geriatric Medicine, where they honored us by launching their book on care of the elderly by presenting that book to the GMA as the first copy in that meeting. We had a meeting with the College of Oncologists where we tried something new which is not usually seen in collaborative meetings. Because usual meetings have to cater for the needs of all levels of doctors, from very junior doctors to very senior consultants, we organized what was known as a consultant roundtable, where senior consultants of different disciplines were invited for a multidisciplinary discussion on complex patient problems with an oncological base. And we had an expert panel of oncologists of different specialties who would sit around with the consultants from the Galle Medical Association discussing two complex problems. So that was something novel and truly appreciated by the consultants, who often felt that the usual academic programs, joint meetings, did not really cater to their needs. We had a meeting with the Sri Lanka College of Pulmonologists, and then we had a case-based discussion on tuberculosis, the different presentations, what would be new in the management of TB. That was practice changing. Then, of course, we had another meeting with the Sri Lanka College of Internal Medicine, a fledgling college, where for the first time we used audience response systems with a pre-test and a post-test, and happy to announce that after the meeting, the post-test marks were higher than the pre-test marks. That was a relief. Then, of course, we had the Ceylon College of Physicians visiting Galle for the Galle chapter of the Young Physicians Forum of the CCP. That was another highlight. Then we have the GMA Young Specialist Forum. The aim is to support the career development of senior level trainees, because very often the senior level trainees are looked upon as second consultants, and they hardly get an opportunity to improve their skills. We had 9 such presentations, ranging from neurological disorders depicted by Sunny to massive hemorrhage management to gender identity disorders. We invite all specialties, senior registrar from all specialties to present with us. What is special, where we have gone beyond the Young Physicians Forum, is at the end of the forum, the judges sit with the senior trainee, discuss the strengths and areas to improve, and give them a feedback so that they can come up with a better result next time they make an academic presentation. Of course, when one does, we set out with an aim. Then, of course, there is a process. The process, if I put a photograph of the process, that would have been a young specialist delivering a lecture. But I put a different photograph here because this is the outcome. The presentation on management of massive hemorrhage, which will be presented during the academic sessions on Friday, that led to a change of practice in the hospital. So the outcome was change of practice, and the boxes in the picture depict how massive transfusion protocols, the new protocol, is being adopted in the emergency treatment unit of Teaching Hospital Karapetia. So it went beyond process, but to an identifiable outcome as well. The GMA Registrar Forum, the aim is to promote multifaceted academic development of junior specialist trainees. We had 34 presentations during this year, and these included case-based discussions on landmark practice-changing research publications, and relevant radiology discussions. The GMA Advanced Life Support Training for Doctors. The Galle Medical Association collaborates with the Sri Lanka College of Anesthesiologists and the Department of Anesthesiology in the University of Ruhuna to conduct monthly ALS training programs and certifying doctors, which is now an exam requirement, every month. And then they will train the doctors in the latest ALS protocols. We conducted 8 such programs, and 113 doctors were trained and certified in advanced life support over this period. We do not stop training in life support at doctor level. We go out to the community and train them in basic life support and community education on first aid. We visit institutions in the community and train people to deal with possible cardiac arrest they may see out of hospital in the community. This has been widely appreciated in the places that our teams visited. There were 4 school programs were visited, and then another program for students and staff members in the University of Ruhuna, the non-medical faculty and other faculties, the staff and the students, they were trained in basic life support and first aid over. We believe that maternity really matters. So we have a separate directorate to tackle maternity-related matters. The aim is, though we have, excellent indicators when it comes to maternal health, one can always get better. One can strive for greater excellence. With that in mind, we had a workshop on fetal ultrasonography conducted by Professor Tirandas in the maternity hospital in Mahamodara, where a large number of not just Mahamodara hospital, but surrounding hospital doctors who work in maternity units were invited and trained in basic fetal ultrasonography. Ladies and gentlemen, in any crown, there are jewels which are even more precious than the rest, This was one of our really precious jewels, the pearls of clinical wisdom. The aim was to invite senior consultants to deliver their clinical experiences, perceptions, and lessons learned from patients and in the wards to the next generation of doctors. We managed to invite a few very difficult to convince very senior consultants to share their experiences with us. And as one consultant very aptly said, fools learn from their mistakes, wise men learn from those of others. So all the younger generation doctors can become wise men by learning from all my mistakes. So that was the theme on which he based his lecture. I'm very grateful to these very senior consultants who spent their time with us, who were my teacher level. So for the very junior doctors, that was a wonderful experience. There is perhaps little point in doing all this for the teaching hospital Karapetiya only. We believe in having strong peripheries where patients get optimum care in the smaller units even before they are transferred to Karapetiya. The aim was capacity building in smaller hospitals in the Galle district, and it was a collaborative project with the RDHS office. I'm pleased to note that the Regional Director of Health Services is here with us. We received fullest cooperation from him and Dr. Amila Chandrasiri, who is overseas at the moment, to conduct this project. We visited the peripheral units, the smallest of small hospitals in Galle. We spoke with the few doctors who work in this. What are the problems that they see frequently? What are the doubts that they have? Whatever doubts we could address there, our specialist consultants visited these hospitals, and whatever deficiencies that they could settle there, we did that. And then, of course, we identified some areas where everybody was having a difficulty. So what we did was we gathered them, all the peripheral unit hospital doctors, in groups to a larger hospital, and came out and discussed with them and gave them solutions to their problems, and came up with documents for them to keep in their hospitals to optimally manage complex problems for them, whatever problems they felt were complex for them. So this was a phenomenal effort with coordination from both parties. In addition to that, we visited the Southern Naval Command has a Triforces hospital in Galle, and we have young men with dengue and young fit men with dengue. We did not want any adverse outcome for them, so our doctors visited the naval hospital and trained the naval medical officers in optimum dengue management protocols as well as bedside ultrasonography techniques. Helping hand to day-to-day general practice. Now, many members of the GMA do their private general practices after 4 p.m. And it is an undeniable fact that a large proportion of Sri Lankans seek treatment from hospital doctors who are working as medical officers in the hospital, who do private practices at their GP practices after hours. because they may be working in some specialized units such as vascular surgery or neurosurgery, the exposure to some of the common medical problems may not be frequent. So to empower them to treat their patients in general practice better, we had a helping hand to day-to-day general practice. So we had a panel of experts, multidisciplinary experts. For instance, in the back pain, we had a radiologist, a physician, and a rheumatologist joining in to discuss about what would be the optimum way at general practice level, how not to over-investigate or prevent unnecessary treatment as well. So that was helping hand. The GMA Research Help Desk. We have a dedicated day where researchers from the university or the hospital could make an appointment with a senior researcher and discuss their projects. We had 6 researchers who came up with their projects, mostly in project writing stage, come for advice. They will be supported throughout the research projects. Up until publication, they will be supported by the GMA. We have still not had publications, we are in early days, but it will be a pleasure if those researchers manage to subsequently publish their work in maybe the Journal of the Ceylon College of Physicians or the Ceylon Medical Journal one fine day. That's our hope. The GMA publications went e-newsletters, and obviously you may notice the art and the science of medicine appearing in the newsletters. And then we had 2 journals of the GMA also published during this period. We have actually gone international. We have an international academic collaboration. The aim is to gain knowledge from symposia conducted by the finest medical institutions. And we have started live webcasting of Royal College of Physicians Edinburgh Symposia in the Galle Medical Association auditorium. So far, we have webcast 3 such symposia prescribing in the elderly, infectious diseases, and renal diseases. And it was a great privilege indeed, because the RCPE, before they start the symposium, they have a map of all the centers joining them, and to see a red dot over Sri Lanka, where we joined them as a collaborating partner for these symposia, was a very happy moment. And our trainees who participate in these get CME certificates from the Royal College of Physicians Edinburgh as well. We have gone beyond academic as well, as we promised, the art and the science. So that was scientific excellence, but we went beyond. The aim was to bring together Galle Medical Association members with others who have excelled in their chosen fields and learn from them about life in general and perhaps improve our practice as doctors as well. We had a remarkable set of people who joined us. We had Ms. Vindhya Varakagoda speaking to us on dance and health. Our own Dr. Chandima Amarasena gave a very erudite presentation on anatomy and surgery, Da Vinci's paintings. We had Royston Ellis, the eminent author, speaking on words matter. Dr. A.T. Aryaratna about healing of minds. Professor Saumya Liyanage, the finest actor perhaps of this generation, speaking to us about what pleasure and purpose is. And of course, we had a very special guest, Dr. Avanti Pereira, Senior State Counsel, who discussed with us about 40 medical negligence cases and spoke to us about what lessons to learn from those instances. And the outstanding theme in her presentation was that we are technically very good. Sri Lankan doctors are technically very good. But what has caused problem has been the way we dealt with our patients or in the doctor-patient relationship. Surya Vasantaya, traditional Sinhala and Tamil New Year celebrated by members and families with prominence given to observing traditions and rituals. Vesak Bhaktigi, Galle Medical Association. We do not have a stage and sing. We go to the wards seeking patients to heal their minds with Vesak Bhaktigi. And the patients join us in our effort. If you look at this photograph, you will see patients singing with us. And we tell them, Gilan Mithun Soya Gosin, Ounke Sit Satan Vela, Suve Beda Sadarakim. Galle Medical Association, Sonduru Sandavak. The aim was to engage doctors with the fine arts, with input from exponents of that art. Our first program was in music, tracing how North Indian classical music has influenced Sri Lankan music. Music fills the infinite between two souls. Hopefully, music will fill the infinite between doctors and patients. Fit and stress-free, we lead all work, no play lifestyles. We had a badminton and a TT day through which we tried, because we had doctors engaging in practices and that increased their fitness, and we created a culture of exercise and sports so that we remain healthy. Aturu Mituru was an effort to promote family creativity. Family members and children participated in this, paintings and photograph competitions. And the dull walls which adorn the passage to the GMA office, Galle Medical Association office, are now lined with vibrant paintings of GMA members. We went green. We gave up on all plastic bottles. There is evidence for that. And we are going more and more paperless. We are committed to going green. Galle Medical Association believes that it has a national social responsibility. When the terrible events of Easter Sunday happened, we stepped in our own way. We met the Reverend Bishop of Galle, Dr. Raymond Wickramasinghe, who has honored us by his presence here today. We met Bishop Wickramasinghe and then discussed. We expressed condolences to the Christian brethren who had been affected and offered support in whatever ways that we could as a Galle Medical Association. At the hospital we had a disaster management plan discussed in detail and put into practice, because we felt that if indeed a disaster happened in this part of the country, we would have to be very ready for that, and we were very ready for any disaster, and hopefully that's the only time that we prayed that our preparations will never be used. It was not used so far. I'm happy about that. We didn't stop there. We invited Dr. A.T. Aryaratna, the great social worker, to come and speak to the doctors about healing of minds and bringing fractured communities together. That gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, is how the GMA evolved over the past 7.5 months. Now it is time for the Galle Medical Association Academic Sessions 2019. Now in this picture we have the Kohinoor diamond. This is one of the most precious diamonds, jewels in the world. And this is our Kohinoor diamond, the GMA annual academic program. We have 2 days of academic activity, and there are 3 themes which run through the academic program. We are not having an academic program dealing with systems and system disorders, because we believe that life's problems does not come in systems. We are trying to speak about real problems in life which affect at different stages of our life. So we used as our theme the 7 ages of man, from As You Like It, of William Shakespeare. So we have symposia on childhood, adolescence, youth, the the puking and mewling infant, the whining schoolboy, the starstruck lover. We cover all that. And then we have on adulthood, older age, we have maternity. We have covered maternity stage, and then we go on to adult, and then we go to old age. And of course, son teeth, son everything, we go to death as well. So we cover from birth to death in this program, and we hope to speak about how to die happily, how to die a good death at the symposium on death and dying. The lectures are formulated in such a way, some are best practice, where we know the problem, but we are not really sure what's the best way to do it. Some of them are unraveling mysteries. We have vaguely heard about this, we know a little bit about it, but we are not really sure what it is. So we have one lecture on gender identity disorders, we have one on persistent vegetative state, on dying, on brain death, and etc. So we have unraveling of mysteries and best practice. The second theme which runs through this is sticking to our theme of art and science of medicine. We have 4 presentations on how some very fine doctors in this country got inspired by poetry, by literature, by films, and we have our chief guest speaking to us about an inspiring painting. So the second theme is the art and the science of medicine. The third theme is we are embracing the future whilst holding on to past wisdom. We have a symposium on very futuristic medicine, on artificial intelligence use in medicine, on the post-antibiotic era, and biologics in medicine. But we conclude with presentations from some very senior and eminent consultants on lessons learned from their patients and at the bedside, so that we convey the message to all doctors in the Galle Medical Association that whilst embracing technology and future, we must hold on to great things of the past. We must open our windows for the winds to blow in, but we must never let our roofs get blown away, as Rabindranath Tagore mentioned in his Nobel Prize acceptance speech. We had a different pre-congress, a very different one. It was called Veda Jana Katikava, Galu Veda Jana Katikava, Galle Medical Association Community Dialogue, a mutual learning forum. We had a pre-congress in a temple where people gathered, and then we had a question and answer session on non-communicable diseases. We asked them questions which we thought was important to them. They asked us some questions which were important to them, which was a learning experience for all of us. So it was mutual learning for the patients and the GMA doctors, a very unusual pre-congress, but we felt that we've ventured into an uncharted territory, but it looks very promising there. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme Jewels in the Crown have occurred currently in my presidential address. What we have done over the past few months, the different projects are different jewels in the crown of the GMA. The academic sessions, to me, is the Koh-i-Noor diamond of the GMA crown. But these committed individuals, these 26 executive committee members, are in some ways jewels in the crown of the GMA, because we did everything with their commitment, dedication, hard work, enthusiasm, unstinted support. The secretary of the GMA will thank perhaps the executive committee in his speech. but I know that he will not thank himself, so I take this opportunity to thank three very special people. The two secretaries of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Ganaka Senaratna and Dr. Gayani Liyanage, whose undying enthusiasm, support, commitment, dedication and ability to make sense of chaos helped GMA go forward these academic sessions as well. And one more person, Dr. Harshini Rajapaksa, who, though not an executive committee member, was perhaps, he conceptualized many of the very creative projects that the GMA started this year. So thank you, Dr. Rajapaksa, for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the crown of the last Sri Lankan king, Sri Vikramarajasinghe. This is perhaps the most precious crown that we have in this country. 7.5 months ago, now, though I have referred to many jewels in the crown, the jewels in the executive committee will leave at the end of this year. They will not be, some of them may not be part of the GMA. The academic programs, we started the academic program for the academic sessions, they will also be over. But some very precious jewels in the crown of the GMA will remain forever. That year, those jewels are you, the members and the well-wishers of the GMA, the Galle Medical Association. 7.5 months back, the membership of the GMA handed over their very precious crown to 27 executive committee members, including myself, to preserve that crown and glisten it so that it will radiantly distribute academic excellence among the medical community. It is in that hope that the membership of the GMA handed over this responsibility. You have seen how we have walked this journey over the past 7.5 months, and you've had a preview of the academic feast that is laid for you over the coming 2 days. Considering all this, the distinguished past presidents and the precious jewels of the GMA, the members, will hopefully feel when they handed over the crown to us for safekeeping, they have chosen well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dissanayake. To introduce the chief guest to the audience, I invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake.
Professor Amrit Pali Hanjin, OBE, MD, FRCGP, FRCP, FRSA, DRCOG. Professor Hanjin was the president of the British Medical Association in 2017. He was the founding dean and the founding professor of primary care at the School of Medicine, University of Durham, UK. He was the chairman of the NHS Research and Development Forum, England. Currently, Professor Hanjin is Professor, Faculty of Medical Sciences, Newcastle University, UK. He is a trustee and the treasurer of the Royal Medical Benevolent Fund. Professor Hanjin chairs the Primary Care Group, Genome England, Access Review Committee. Presently, he is the lead Changing Face of Medicine Commission, Academy of Royal Medical Colleges, UK. On a more personal note, Professor Hanjin first visited Galle in the aftermath of the tsunami and was instrumental in setting up the Durham-Ruhuna research collaboration. His efforts helped advance research capacity not only in the medical faculty, but in other faculties and other academics of the University of Ruhuna too. Professor Hanjin represents, with a touch of art, the zenith of academic excellence. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Galle Medical Association, it is my great pleasure and privilege to invite Professor Hanjin to deliver the chief guest address.
Thank you, Dr. Dissanayake, for that very warm welcome. It is a great privilege, indeed an honor, to be here in the presence of so many distinguished guests, distinguished clinicians and academics whose work I have admired because I know of so many of you. And I'm particularly humbled that there are at least 2 vice-chancellors here from Colombo and Ruhuna. And this shows the gravitas of this meeting and the importance of the GMA, which I think is a progressive and forward-looking organization, an organization that we can all be very proud of, not only in Sri Lanka, but I think would be, to use your words, Arosha, a jewel in the crown in any British institution. So my congratulations to you. This meeting is particularly imaginative. It sets out, I think, with great courage, an attempt to look to the future, to try to combine the humanities, the arts, with medicine. And you know, of course, that the phrase art and medicine has been used for hundreds of years. People used to say, oh, we don't know whether medicine is an art or a science. Oh, medicine is a science that mixes with the arts. But in my view, we have cheapened this particular link. We have made this a very cheap phrase. We are guilty of misusing language. We are guilty of misusing language because we have retreated into some kind of medical and clinical science. And the arts are actually on the outside. When we say to our colleagues, oh, medicine is a science and an art, what we really seem to mean is that we are covering up our inadequacies by pretending that we have some deeper knowledge, or by trying to be empathetic with the patient, or by trying to be compassionate. Now, these, of course, are important values, but that is not what art is about. At its deepest heart, art is the very distillation of feeling, of emotion, of figuring, of movement, which express the very spiritual nature of human beings. And unless we as doctors are capable of being educated and being immersed in those arts, then we can never truly realize the nature of human beings. There will therefore always be a gap between our own souls and ourselves, but particularly a gap between ourselves and our patients. So it's time for us to stop paying lip service. Oh, medicine is an art as well as a science. It's time for us to become immersed in the arts so that we can be sufficiently deep in our understanding of human nature in order to become the true healers that our patients want us to be. By reducing that gap, we recover some of the humanity that we have lost over the last 100 years as we have retreated into the physiology of Krebs cycle and the anatomy of the brachial plexus. Do you think your patients really care about that? We live, of course, in very trying times. We live in a very pivotal time. It has been said that we live, just as the historians have described the Renaissance and other ages, that we live in the information age. The hallmarks of the information age are everywhere, of course. The PC, the iPhone, and the use of technology in every particular aspect of our work. You know where I'm going. I'm going to question where the role of humanity and the arts lies in this bewilderingly fast-moving world. I have the privilege of chairing a commission set up by the Academy of the Medical Royal Colleges in the UK. The commission is entitled The Changing Face of Medicine. And the role of the commission is to try to look into the future, to project ourselves into 10, 20 years, and to see what the world might look like and how we might prepare ourselves as clinicians for that future. The commission is quite a clever one. We're not looking at how things might improve tomorrow. We're not saying, oh, there might be a faster computer or that there will be more universal health care. What we're trying to do is to project ourselves into an image rather like Star Trek, where things seem so different from the reality of where we are today. Indeed, I've heard it questioned at some meetings whether doctors will even exist in 20 years' time. There is probably no technical role that could not be done by a non-doctor, and there is probably no patterning role that could not be done using machine learning and artificial intelligence. The question therefore arises, what role do we doctors have? Where will we be in 10 or 20 years? Now it might interest you to know that we've divided our work in the Commission into a series of work streams, and they are the use and impact of technology, where it might lead us in 10 or 20 years, not tomorrow, 10 or 20 years, whether medical education needs to change altogether. Is medical education appropriate for the future? Can we jump out of the swimming pool that we're in now into a bigger, wider ocean? The relationship between the public and patients and doctors, how is this going to change? It has already changed. My patients have read the internet. They know what they want. The relationship is no longer one of being patronizing between an apostolic person and a mendicant. It's no longer the person with knowledge and the person who is seeking. The relationship is that of the consumer, who not only wants answers, but may require treatments and medications that you feel should be withheld because your superior technical knowledge requires you to withhold that. Other aspects that we're studying are doctors' own health, so eloquently referred to in Dr. Desanayaka's presentation. Doctors' health the world over is a major issue. Burnout rates are approaching epidemics in the United States and in Canada. And it would appear from all surveys being done in the United Kingdom now that less than 50% of doctors entering the traditional registrar role have the intention of coming back to specialize in anything at all. We are, of course, because people no longer tolerate the business of being a doctor. And the older doctors are leaving and resigning because of psychological pressures and tensions. And finally, leadership. I'm going to come to leadership, and what I would like to do is to just say a few words about the technological future, and I'll bring things together to the whole role of the humanities and arts in a second. We are indeed on the threshold of an information revolution, but not in the way that we know it. It's not a question of iPhones or flat-screen televisions or faster computers. The whole business of machine learning and patterning and modeling has completely transformed the landscape in many industries, and in medicine it's coming very fast. I do not mean algorithms. Algorithms are yesterday's news. And, ladies and gentlemen, randomized controlled trials are yesterday's news. Because the new way of detailing and using information is to use raw information which has been warehoused, undifferentiated data, which enables people to pattern what the future might look like, to pattern what might really be wrong with the patient. Let me give you an example. An absurd example, perhaps. We have been taught for at least 200 years that if you want to look for bowel cancer, you should ask about rectal bleeding and weight loss, and perhaps check for anemia. And if you want to do a rectal exam, perhaps you might feel a mass. Now just think for a moment. This is 18th century talk. Rectal bleeding, weight loss, a mass at the end of your fingertip, anemia. For goodness sake, by that stage you're already dealing with something that has got to such a stage that you can do very little about it in terms of a true cure. Now just imagine that actually the very earliest signs and symptoms of cancer were, an itchy nose, or a twitchy toe, or perhaps trouble sleeping, or that your ear was always hurting. Whoever makes a note of such symptoms? Why did we never make a note of such symptoms? Because patients never presented with these symptoms, clinicians never asked about them, and there doesn't seem to be any sensible connection between an itchy nose and bowel cancer. But just imagine if you had huge computers with undifferentiated data, which were able to pattern all the information that was going in, you may yet find that a combination of hitherto undiscovered symptoms together with, say, markers, are the very first indicators that someone is going to have bowel cancer. Now that can only be done through machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I gather you have a session on Friday which will cover that. But that is the threshold of the revolution. That is how the Met Office works. That is how they're able to predict the weather to within half an hour to a very close location. It's not because they have more thermometers or they have more machines that measure wind speed. It's because they have undifferentiated data going back a very long time, and very powerful computers are preparing predictive models for what might happen based on observations that the computer has recorded over the previous few weeks or months. That's how our intelligence services work. That's how our military works. That's how our brains work when we think, I don't think I'll buy that car, I think I'll buy this one instead. What's going on inside your head? It's a form of modeling and machine learning. And you can see, therefore, why the randomized controlled trial might become redundant, because RCTs work in a highly reductionist manner on small groups of patients with highly tightened criteria, and yet the outcomes are often extrapolated not only for use to the general population, but worse still, someone who might have benefited from that drug no longer will. Now the big pharma companies are starting to go in for machine learning and large data holding in order to see how their medications work. We are indeed on the threshold of a revolution. So to close this loop, our theme group on technology. We asked our theme group, how do you think things will look in 20 years? They said, well, everybody will have the opportunity of doing a self-analysis of their symptoms, of their complaints, either by using genomic analysis or by putting in their symptoms, and there will be a huge revolution in the way people can be diagnosed or diagnosed at an early stage or even before the disease actually develops. And therefore the role of the doctor will change drastically. And the conclusions were that this kind of technology is moving at such speed, and indeed in many Western countries people are buying into these technologies and are making use of them in order to self-diagnose before they actually go to see someone to get confirmation. So the question that arose was, what will be the role of the human being here, the so-called ex-doctor, or the doctor as she might exist at that particular time in 20 years' time? And the technology group came up with the most surprising thing, something that floored me completely. And this technology group consists of people who are high-born technologists, people who are working in industry, people working with Google DeepMind, people working in hospitals, working on algorithms and machine learning. Their conclusion was that in 20 years' time, the most precious resource will be face-to-face contact, the human being who can not only interpret the data, but work with the person whose data is being presented in order to decide how things should be handled, or if anything should be handled at all. So this was a kind of a funny role reversal, that in order to re-establish the role of the human being within the therapeutic relationship, one has probably got to go through a dry desert patch of technology which will dehumanize people and take away that ability to feel straight and clear empathy and compassion and all those things which we think is part of the art of medicine. This is a real paradox. So I go back to my earlier thesis. What then is the role of the arts? Believe me, in 20 years' time, in order to know fellow human beings, it will be better if we know our paintings, our poetry, our dance and our music, and that will be of more value in the human interaction than the fact that we noticed that the patient had rectal bleeding. We need to retreat from this pseudoscience that we have invented over the last 200 years, which has been worsened by evidence-based medicine in the last 25 years, and recover the ground that we have always held as someone who has been a companion to a fellow sick person, rather than someone sitting at the top of a desk talking down to that individual. So this brings me to my final point, which is this. How have we ended up in this desperate situation whereby the gap between patients, the public, and doctors has widened, whereby we get so frustrated, especially with functional problems where we can find no cure for them, with problems that defy all definition, with patients who seem to come back with whom we have no success? Why have we landed ourselves in a situation where we seem to have created this enormous chasm? We have failed ourselves. And I think the answer is we have not had good inspirational leadership in medicine for the last 20 or 30 years. Can you think of truly inspirational leaders who have led in terms of thought creation, in terms of creating initiatives, breaking new ground? Okay, we all know clever clinicians and we admire them. We know wonderful surgeons and we think highly of them. But when was the last time that you admired a thought leader? If we do not have thought leaders, then it is almost certain that we're going to be highly compromised as a profession. So who is a thought leader? I'm sorry, I think I'm going backwards here with my finger. I will see if I can recover this. Well, we're fine here. So where are these thought leaders? I look at you. You are the thought leaders. We are all thought leaders. It has been said that so many of us stand on the shoulders of giants. If we stand on the shoulders of giants, then we have an obligation because we can see further. It's not enough simply to stand on the shoulders of giants. I think we have an obligation to ask ourselves how we are functioning individually as clinicians, as doctors, how our own institutions are handling the pressures that are coming upon us, how our children will perform as doctors. Do we simply put them through a conventional medical school, expect them to do what we're doing, maybe a little more efficiently with a more shiny machine, or are you actually preparing them for the future? We need futures. We need futures that are going to work for our families and for our children and for our profession. So it's a time of drastic change. And I think the whole world recognizes that. And I think that there is a lesson here. Those of us who are learners will invent the future. Those of us who are very learned and are highly respected but are not learners will remain in a world that is no longer existing within a very short time. So I throw this challenge out to you, to the GMA and to all doctors the world over. The BMA did this through its publication of a report 2 years ago. So colleagues, let's face up to the challenge of the future. Let's create the future ourselves with a true sense of humanity, but also by inculcating the arts into our own thoughts and minds. Go home and read a poem this evening and rediscover your own soul. We can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We greatly appreciate your presence here today. And as such, I would like to invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake, to present a gift to the Chief Guest, Professor Pali Hungin. Thank you, Professor Hungin and Dr. Dissanayake. To introduce the guest of honor to the audience, I invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake.
Dr. Ravindra Randeniya. Ravindra Randeniya learnt theatre and drama under the tutelage of the greatest dramatists and stage personalities of the era, Professor Sarachandra, Gunasena Galappatti, Henry Jayasena, Dhamma Jagoda, Chitrasena, and Vajira. He excelled in all three visual media, stage drama, cinema, and television. Stage drama performances in Muduputtu, Death of a Salesman, Julius Caesar won him critical acclaim and also the most outstanding performance award for the stage drama Idama. Starting from Kaludiya Dahara, Ravindra Randeniya has acted in 115 movies, mostly playing a lead role, in a career spanning 49 years in cinema. His phenomenal performances in movies such as Dasa Nisa, Sagara Jalaya, Dadayama, Duhulu Malak, Aradhana, Siri Madura are firmly etched in our memories and live on with us years after watching them. On no less than 18 film festivals, he has received Best Actor awards. His outstanding contribution to Sri Lankan cinema has been celebrated by 6 Lifetime Achievement Awards from different institutions. His work as President of the Film Actors Guild and that as the advisor to His Excellency the President of Sri Lanka on cinema development has contributed immensely to the upliftment of the national film industry. In recognition of perhaps unparalleled achievements and contribution to Sri Lankan cinema, Ravindra Randeniya was awarded an honorary PhD from the University of Visual and Performing Arts, Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ravindra Randenia epitomizes excellence. He is the zenith, he represents the zenith in the arts. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Galle Medical Association, it is my great pleasure and privilege to invite Dr. Ravindra Randenia to deliver the address of the guest of honor.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I am in the company of such great, eminent professionals, professors, doctors, university chancellors, the top notch of the academia. And I don't know if I feel something like a fish out of water here, because, I don't think an actor has ever been invited to address such an august assembly of professionals. Bit of a challenge for me. So, I think it is kind of an early excuse to sort of, because the discourse that I will be presenting to you would be so much totally different from the presentation that was made by Dr. Arusha Disanayaka as the president of the Galle Medical Association, and of course the most enlightening futuristic discourse that was presented to us by Professor Hangi, which was a revelation. The futuristic outlook really astonished me as to how we would look into the future, and the conventional wisdom that we have, will it have a place in our future dealings as medical professionals, or whether we are involved in any other field of activity, that our thinking process has to be completely changed. It was an enlightenment. Professor, thank you very much for that. I gained a lot by attending this ceremony today. The president of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arusha Disanayaka, and members of the executive committee of the GMA, immediate past president and past presidents, and the President-elect, Dr. Vijay Singha, and all learned professionals, as I mentioned, such a galaxy of top-notch professionals here. I don't know whether I will have the time to address each one of them by name, but they deserve to be mentioned, but the time constraint doesn't allow me to do that. But I am honored to be present here and addressing you, and our orator today, Dr. Galle Alvis, all members of the medical profession who are present here, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I was wondering whether I should start my few words relating a story, because I am a person whom I feel that I am standing here, maybe quite by accident, because look back a bit. As I told you, it's not going to be an academic discourse. What I am going to talk about, maybe a few snippets and short stories from my life. Why I say that I am here by accident, at one stage when I was very young, I had a great ambition. I harbored that great ambition to be a medical doctor. I think that is common to maybe 80% of youngsters, students, if you ask, they would say the same thing. But I was thinking like I was generally among the, say, top 5 in every class during my school career. And this dream did not look much distant, far away. And I also, as I said, had an affinity and a great respect for this profession. So what I did was, in 1963 or 4, I don't remember exactly, I left St. Benedict's College when I was in the first year in the advanced level form and joined Aquinas University College because, after the 1960s school takeover, the education standard in most of the private schools really came down. The teachers, the top teachers left colleges. So that's why I had to switch school, and then at the same time I became an inmate of Kidiyakar medical hostels. I think our doctors from the Colombo faculty will know this hostel. It was 90% medical students and few students from the law faculty and few of us. So, because it had a very conducive atmosphere to immerse yourselves in books and the kind of communication that we had with students, young fellows who are very determined to go forward in their education. So, I also joined that fraternity and then worked very hard, almost for 1.5 years, breaking or burning a lot of midnight oil, working very hard. And I very confidently went for my examination, advanced level, chemistry 1 paper, inorganic chemistry, and triumphantly came back because I had got both my physical chemistry sums correct, beating some of the pundits in our group. And then I prepared a few notes of revision for the next day's paper, the organic chemistry paper, and took a very well-deserved siesta, small nap, before I would start my revision in the evening. But I got up with a very uneasy feeling. I was feeling cold, feverish. I had a slight temperature, and which by night developed into 105 fever. Through the night, and I remember a medical student taking me on a bicycle to the hospital, gave me some medicines, but to no avail. The fever continued, and the morning when I was determined to go for the exam, I collapsed. And that put an end to my dream of having those 2 coveted letters before me. I was shattered. That was a cruel blow of destiny. I couldn't cope up with it. I became a very aimless person, just floating around, which has never been a trait in my life. So what do? I sat for the exam again with no deep interest in it. I remember getting thrown out of the physics lab by Professor Ramanathan for not maintaining record books, and that was the end of my academic career. But strangely, or by some coincidence, I joined this profession, which has sustained me for almost 50 years now. I was trying to become a doctor and became an actor. If you take the alphabet, it doesn't make much of a difference. Sounds similar as well. And then, being in this profession for so long, finally I seem to there's some justification that has come to me that I have been honored, or I have had the coveted dream achieved, that I can now officially use those 2 important letters, the treasured letters before my name, officially. So here I am. I think this preamble went too long. Let's get started what we have to say here. I'm wondering whether we should debate. There is a relationship between art and science, or art and medicine. But is the science of medicine in reality so distant or disconnected with art? Please let me look at it this way. An actor, within a broader sense of the word, is a communicator. We communicate, we interact with society through our creations, conveying or purveying our emotions that are deep down in our conscience, and thereby creating a certain awareness in the viewer in assessing or coming to terms with his own emotions. That's the kind of communication that I think as an actor that we have, the discourse we have with an audience is that we address their emotions by conveying to them our own deep emotions in a manner through which they themselves will identify their own emotions and come to terms with them. So, the theme today is art and science of medicine enhancing clinical excellence with human care. Now, when we consider that promotion of patients' best interest is clinicians' primary moral consideration, we see the element of art and human care coming into this equation. Here we see a role for the medical professional, practitioner, emerging also as a communicator. As we know, in the pursuit of gold standard in medical professionalism, patient assessment is paramount. Now, I'm not trying to teach you what a doctor should do. What I feel is, if that is of paramount importance, our association with arts, fine arts, literature, music, will enhance the process of that kind of communication a doctor will have to have with his patient. Creating that empathy, that passionate bond that has to be there, for the passionate feeling to cure a person. I think to develop that sensitivity, to develop that communication with the patient, we developing our own sensitivity through our association with literature and fine arts will be very helpful. Apart from the traditional time-honored practices of patient assessment, I think a new line is emerging. Professor Hangin, I think, touched on that in a very, very different way. There's always been a link, a relationship between art and literature and practice of medicine. This existed in ancient Greek, and it continued, I think, probably up to the 20th century. Now, Professor is predicting a totally different future. But as we are now, as it is today, we find that this relationship that existed for almost so many centuries. However, scientific achievements in medicine and the dominance of biological model of medical education have weakened this relationship. Nevertheless, presently, literature and medicine have made a comeback to restore the humanistic component of medical education and practice. I heard few lines that are directing towards that, towards the very end of Professor's lecture. Coming face to face with yourself, coming to learning poetry, literature, immersing yourselves in fine art. That was a very important message I gathered from Professor's speech. As the theme of today's sessions indicate, and the topic I have chosen for this brief presentation, this is the common ground that I am trying to focus on. For us, as actors, in dealing with a script, reading primarily is close reading, disciplined reading, rereading to understand the complexities of a character. to identify layers of meaning that lead to more nuanced interpretation of a character. That is what I say is basically assessment of a character. Familiarity with great works of literature, music, and other forms of art can be immensely supportive of honing an actor's skills in interpretation of a character. So this is how fine arts help us as performers, as actors, to interpret a character by understanding the deep layers, by reading and rereading, a very disciplined reading, how we understand it, and then take it over to our own conscience, and then reinterpret it, with our performance. So I think this is a very, very important thing. That is why I thought of mentioning this to you. Not even in acting, in every field, especially in a field like medicine, where science beautifully correlates with or overlaps with human emotions as well. This kind of understanding will be very helpful if we are trying to draw a line between medicine and art. Similarly, can the study of humanities, association with literature, music, can be helpful in proper patient assessment with better communication skills in patient-clinician dialogue, obtaining a narrative response from patient, to engage in a certain dialogue, a communication with the patient, to extract, not only just giving out his own symptoms, but talking to him in a manner where, as doctor said, there will be so many other diagnostic processes that will emerge, not the traditional methods that we have employed up to now. And I think in that process, the communication that you can establish with a patient, obtaining a narrative from the patient, will be very, very helpful. And I don't think it's a new approach, but that's an approach that there should be more emphasis. I guess the answer is yes, there could be that communicative response if you look at it, and then treat the patient as a human, as a full person and not as a case. Having said all this artistic, humanistic approach in dealing with patients may be the ideal way for a doctor to deal with the primary objective of restoration of health. That is the primary objective of a doctor. But in reality, is it possible to put into practice all these more humane approach in day-to-day practice of medicine? There are so many constraints that make it ever so difficult to put all these lofty ideas to practice. Doctors are under constant pressure to see lots of patients in very short periods of time. And other related factors like substandards or inadequate infrastructure are not supportive, especially in our own scenario. Our own scenario means in the context of Sri Lankan, we'll say, medical profession or the facilities that we have. Yet the medical profession, with all these obstacles that make it impossible to put into practice humanistic approach to patient care to the letter, continue to serve the nation, upholding the virtues of this noble profession most commendably. I salute you for that. Under all these constraints, you are trying your best to perform your best. Here comes another comparison between our two professions. As a performer, the conditions under which we operate are also never near ideal. Yet we got to keep going. Out of all artistic activities, I think the profession, what is expected of an actor, to carry out his profession is the most difficult and exhaustive and I should say physically taxing process. Well, you might wonder why I say that. With my own experience, I would say, now in the creative process, what the actor has to do is to use his main instruments that are needed for the performance, that is his body and voice. So in a performance, today you may be a Supreme Court judge, and that is not a thing that you do day to day, but then you have to perform when it is done in a very convincing way. Next day you may be one of those Natavis carrying those two-wheel carts they drag down the streets, packed with bags of onion, potatoes and all that, those heavy things. You may be performing that character the next day. I can relate to you one incident, what happened to me. I was doing exactly that role. I was one of the Natamis carrying, delivering all these heavy loads. I was coming down carrying one of these carts with a dirty hanky going around my neck, bare-bodied, and a piece of sarong here, and body blackened and all that. I was carrying this cart and coming down near Halsdorf, what you call that dam street. It was a bit of a slope, and it was so difficult for me to balance this and then keep on walking to convince the camera that I am doing it right. And I see another professional guy coming, carrying another cart like that, coming face to face with me. And he knew that I was not very steady with my cart. And he shouted at me, "Hey, Yako, gading karatte hakata." That was the response I got from him. But what could you do? He wouldn't know who I am. He thought one of their, colleagues in that profession. So, but you got to do it. And it's physically very stressful and very demanding. But you got to perform it to perfection without betraying any amateurishness, or you can't show that you are not capable of doing it. So it's physically so demanding. I can cite so many incidents like that in my career, where we have to, but then still we have to perform. Now, although the Sri Lankan situation is like that, if it was Mumbai or in Hollywood, an actor, when he is doing a sequence like that, immediately after the shot is over, he would be escorted into a mobile home or something and given all the comforts. People are pampering around him, giving him full comfort, but then may have to stand under a tree and wait till the next shot is called. So, but these are the professional hazards that we meet. We have to meet, and we have to sort of somehow accommodate. The same thing, I think, not to that extent, will apply in practicing medicine also, especially under, as I said, inadequate infrastructure facilities and the other supportive facilities that you need to carry out your duty. Well, we can't just stop at that and say, "Oh, I can't perform, I have not given the ideal conditions for me to give my best to my patients or carry out my profession in the most commendable way." No, we have no excuses to give, because as doctors, actors also can't be near perfect. They have to be perfect. If I am doing a scene and if I don't do it right, once it is canned, that means the director says, "Okay, I'm happy with that shot," and it is canned. However much you feel that you are not your best there, there's no way you can put it correct. You can correct it for life. For doctors also, it is the same thing. You can't be near perfect, you got to be perfect. If you are probing inside a patient's viscera, if you are looking for a kidney stone or something, if you happen to damage the urethra, you had it. There can't be a second chance. I'm not going to talk about how delicate the fallopian tube is, because that's a subject. That is, I think some monks are more knowledgeable about it. They should talk, and I don't think I should talk about it. So these are the things that we encounter in our day-to-day life. And in conclusion, let me ask you this. As I told you, I am not presenting an academic paper or anything like that, but I am honored. I consider it a great honor that I was asked to be the guest of honor here and then was asked to deliver this speech in front of this, most honorable or eminent assembly of academics, professors, doctors, and university chancellors, everybody. It is such an august assembly. The fact that Galle Medical Association invited me to be here in your presence talking to you is an honor I consider not bestowed upon me but on my profession. As an actor, I am very proud that I was given this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Disanayak, and thank to GMA. So before I conclude, let me make another observation. Now, as actors, we are given the best of costumes, very stylish, dressed up, taken to exotic locations, and looked after very well, the transport, accommodation, everything, top class. And they play the music, and what you are supposed to do is to make love to a very, very beautiful lady. And they pay you for that. So that's an actor's profession. There's another thing that I would like to talk about in a similar vein. A doctor, by virtue of his profession, has a license to take a lady into his consultation room, lock the door, keeping the husband outside, and carry out his investigation, his consultation, his examination of whatever the part of the anatomy that has to be examined. He can do all that. And then he's getting paid for that also. So now, where do I draw the line? I would like to pose this question. Which is more stressful for the spouse of the doctor or the actor? You better please answer that question. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to answer any questions. They may be of some personal nature, and my wife is in the audience. So I'm not going to answer that question. I leave it to you. And this in a very, very light strain, I said that. And again, I want to say that I'm very thankful to you. I know I didn't much contribute to enhance your knowledge through the presentation of a person who came to address you. This time that was given to me, I don't know how much you profited by it, but I consider, as I said, a great honor that I was able to be before you and have a dialogue with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And
Thank you, Dr. Randenia. We are grateful for your presence here today. And therefore, I would like to invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Disanayak, to present a gift to our guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Randenia. Thank you, Dr. Randenia and Dr. Disanayak. We now move on to the award ceremony, and I would like to invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Disanayak, to present the awards. The first set of awards is for presentations at the Young Specialist Forum, the platform for senior level trainees to enhance their professional development. Out of 9 presentations by senior registrars across all specialties, the winning presentation is Management of Massive Hemorrhage by Dr. Lavanya Vijayasekara, Senior Registrar in Transfusion Medicine, Teaching Hospital, Karapitiya. Next are the Merit Awards for presentations at the Young Specialist Forum. The first of the 2 Merit Awards goes to Dr. Supun Nilanka, Senior Registrar in Rheumatology and Rehabilitation, for the presentation How to Approach When All Are Connected but Not in Order. The other merit award is awarded in absentia to Dr. Satyajit Ambavatta, Senior Registrar in Neurology, for the presentation Neurological Manifestations of Illicit Drug Use. Is it the novel face of 18 Sunny, or is it the 19th? Next, the Galle Medical Association organizes a special forum for postgraduate trainees in medicine to enhance their presentation skills. The award for the best presenter at that forum in the year 2019 goes to Dr. I.G. Samir Ravishan, Registrar in Medicine. Moving on, with the aim of enhancing research culture among members, the Galle Medical Association has been providing financial assistance in the form of research grants over the years. The winner of the Galle Medical Association Research Grant for this year is Dr. Lalinda De Silva, Lecturer in Parasitology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna, for the research proposal titled Development of DNA and Antibody-Based Methods for Diagnosis and Risk Mapping of Cutaneous Leishmania donovani in Hambantota, Sri Lanka. Thank you, Dr. Dissanayake. To introduce the orator of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions of the Galle Medical Association, I invite the President of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake.
Dr. Gayani Alvis, MBBS, PhD. Dr. Alvis graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, Galle, with second-class honors. She obtained her PhD from the Clinical and Molecular Osteoporosis Research Unit, Lund University in Sweden. Her research interests are in musculoskeletal disorders, anthropometry, and body composition. She has 18 publications in peer-reviewed international journals, more than 50 abstract presentations, and is the recipient of several research grants. Currently, Dr. Alvis is a senior lecturer in the Department of Anatomy at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna, and she supervises an MPhil student and a PhD student. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Galle Medical Association, it is my great privilege and pleasure to present Dr. Gayani Alvis with the GMA Orators Medal and invite her to deliver the GMA Oration 2019.
Thank you, sir, for the kind words of introduction. Chief guest, Professor Pali Hangji, guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Rangania. The President of Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Dissanayake. Members of the Council, past presidents, members of the Galle Medical Association, Vice Chancellor of University of Ruhuna, Dean Faculty of Medicine, distinguished invitees, my dear colleagues, friends and students. I consider it a great honor to deliver the GMA oration today at its 78th Annual Academic Sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, I have selected this bone strength beyond bone mass from childhood to adulthood as the topic of my today's oration. Fragility hip fracture, a serious manifestation of osteoporosis in the elderly population, is a global health problem associated with low bone strength. Hip fracture is commonly prevalent in the Western population. However, as shown in this figure, with the increasing elderly population, the incidence of hip fracture is estimated to be increased, especially in Asian countries. It predicted that 2/3 of overall fragility fractures would occur in Asia by year 2050, with a huge healthcare burden to the societies. The strongest risk factor for sustaining hip fracture is low bone mass, that is bone mineral density. Dual energy X-ray absorptiometry or DEXA is used as the golden standard method to diagnose osteoporosis or low bone mass. DEXA is an non-invasive technique with high precision and low radiation. However, studies have reported that there are limitations of assessing bone strength or fracture risk based on BMD measurements alone, because BMD accounts for only 60 to 70% of the variance of bone strength. Bone strength depends on bone material properties and structural properties of the bone. Then bone strength is determined not only by this bone mineral density but also other structural properties such as this bone size, shape, cortical thickness, and spatial distribution of bone mass, trabeculae and cortical microarchitecture. In this study, the study is mainly focused on these bone structural components. If you look at this bone cross-section, you can identify these structural properties: periosteal diameter, endosteal diameter, and the cortical thickness. Biomechanical behaviors of bone or biomechanical properties explains the distribution of bone mass away from its neutral axis to maintain the bone strength. According to this bone C has greater bending strength compared to bone A and bone B, because in bone C, bone mass is distributed further away from its neutral axis. If you look at this proximal femur, femoral neck connects the femoral head to the shaft. The narrowest neck represents the smallest periosteal diameter and is identified as the weakest point. The narrowest neck used as the region of interest to determine the geometric indices and the biomechanical measures of the femoral neck. Using the facts described above, Thomas J. Beck, an American scientist, has designed this cost-effective DEXA-based advanced hip structural technique to extract cross-sectional geometric indices and the biomechanical properties of the narrowest neck to calculate the femoral neck bone strength. Using this technique, following geometric indices can be estimated: hip axis length, femoral neck length, femoral neck shaft angle, periosteal diameter, endosteal diameter, and cortical thickness. Other than this, following biomechanical indices of the femoral neck can also be estimated using this technique. Cross-sectional moment of inertia, or CSMI, is an index of the ability of femoral necks to withstand bending forces or bending strength. This CSMI explains the distribution of bone mass away from its neutral axis. Then section modulus is another biomechanical index of bending resistance. Cross-sectional area or CSA is an index of axial or compressive bone strength. these femoral neck biomechanical indices in combination with femoral neck geometric indices better describe the femoral neck bone strength. If you look at this application of this theory, physical inactivity and sedentary lifestyle is commonly prevalent in modern societies. Meanwhile, children in Sri Lanka has also moved away from playground or active lifestyle. Then physical inactivity is one of the prominent risk factors for low bone strength. In addition to that, non-communicable diseases and childhood obesity have been recognized as growing global health concerns. The pediatric official position sense of the International Society for Clinical Densitometry, ISCD 2007, have revealed the requirement of age and sex-specific normative data in children and adolescents to evaluate the growth disturbances in multiple skeletal regions. Then you have to measure this anthropometry, body composition, and bone measurements of multiple skeletal regions to evaluate these growth disturbances with their relationships. Based on this background, the study was planned into two phases. Phase 1 was designed to evaluate the effect of physical education intervention on bone mass and bone structure in children. Phase 2 was planned as 3 cross-sectional studies to evaluate sex and age specific development of muscle mass, fat mass, bone mass in multiple skeletal regions, and also to evaluate the femoral neck geometry and biomechanical strength of femoral neck. And finally, the relationships of anthropometry and body composition on femoral neck geometry were studied. In this oration, I wish to present the findings of a project known as Pediatric Osteoporosis Prevention Study. All these studies were conducted in Malmö, Lund University, Sweden. The overall aim of this work is to improve the bone strength, aiming future fracture prevention. Let's see the evidence-based effect of physical activity on bone strength. Weight-bearing physical activities at any age is recognized as one of the cost-effective strategies to optimize bone strength. The pre- and early peripubertal period is considered as a window of opportunity to enhance bone strength, bone development to achieve a higher peak bone mass. Peak bone mass is an important determinant of bone strength, aiming future fracture prevention, because 50% of the bone mass at age 70 is estimated to be predicted by peak bone mass. However, most exercise interventions in children have predominantly been focused on volunteers with specifically designed high-impact exercise interventions or organized sport activities using competitive athletes. However, every child can't continue to engage in high-intense physical activities. When we plan to design an exercise program as a preventive strategy against low bone strength, it should come from a population-based level where every child could enjoy exercise in a safe environment. Based on this background, phase 1 was designed this study to evaluate whether a general school curriculum-based physical education intervention program leads to improved bone mass, bone size, femoral neck bone structure in a group of prepubertal children. To look at this study design, for the intervention school, 4 schools within the similar socio-economic background were selected. 1 school, which was geographically away from other 3 schools, invited for the intervention school, and other 3 schools were served as control schools. The intervention included moderately intense physical activities within the general Swedish school curriculum. For the intervention, just the duration of physical activity classes was increased without changing any activities within the school curriculum. The duration of physical activity was increased from 60 minutes or 1 to 2 minutes, 1 to 2 lessons per week to 200 minutes per week, that is 40 minutes each school day. Physical education curriculum included variety of activities such as ball games, running, jumping, climbing under the supervision of ordinary class teacher. If you look at the study participants, girls, 54 girls in the intervention and 64 in the control group participated at baseline. 49 in the intervention and 50 in the control group participated at the follow-up, 2-year follow-up. If you look at participant boys, 84 boys in the intervention and 68 in the control group participated at baseline, and 80 in the intervention and 57 in the control group participated at 2-year follow-up. Here are the methods that we used in this study. Subjective level of physical activity and the lifestyle factors were assessed by interviewer administered questionnaire used together with parents or guardians. Then objective level of physical activity were measured by using accelerometers over 4 consecutive days at follow-up evaluation. Tanner stage was assessed pivotal status by Tanner staging with the help of research nurse, and this height, weight and BMI were measured and calculated. In skeletal evaluation, bone mineral content, bone mineral density measured at total body, lumbar spine and femoral neck. Bone width measured at third lumbar vertebra and the femoral neck. Total body fat mass and total body lean mass evaluated by total body DEXA scan. Using this hip structural analysis software, following geometric indices were assessed at the narrowest femoral neck to calculate the femoral neck bone strength. This slide shows the output image of an advanced hip structural analysis picture in a study participant. All these measurements were taken at the baseline before the intervention and 1-year and 2-year follow-ups. Annual changes were compared. If you look at the results, the skeletal results before that, when we compare the baseline data before the intervention in both girls and boys, 2 groups did not differ with regard to age, anthropometry, lifestyle factors, physical activity and bone measurements. All the skeletal responses to the physical education intervention at 1-year and 2-year follow-up are summarized in this table, separately in girls and boys at 1-year and 2-year follow-ups. When comparing the annual changes, both boys and girls in the intervention group had significantly higher accrual of bone mineral content, bone mineral density and the bone size in lumbar spine. And the positive effects in the lumbar spine were higher in girls than boys, as clearly shown in this blue. In contrast, no differences between the intervention and control groups were observed for annual changes in bone mineral content, bone mineral density or any geometric or biomechanical indices at the femoral neck. Then no effect at femoral neck. If you look at the level of physical activity, the total duration of physical activity estimated by the questionnaire was higher in the intervention group than in the control group throughout the study period. However, when we look at the accelerometer data, children in the exercise intervention group, both in girls and boys, were reported with more of the highest intense physical activities, that is more than 10,000 counts per minute, was significantly higher in the intervention group than in the control group. In girls, if you look at this here, in boys as well. Further, this accelerometer data revealed that all these children were physically active and they have reached the international recommended level of physical activity per day as evaluated by this accelerometer data. That means these children are physically active. Based on these results, following conclusions were made. The increased duration of physical activity within the Swedish school curriculum was associated with beneficial accrual of bone mass and bone size in lumbar spine, but not in the femoral neck. Girls reported more effect or benefits on bone health than boys. And all children were physically active. We thought that negative results of this femoral neck need to be further studied. The findings of this study were published in 4 peer-reviewed international journals. Then let's move to the phase 2 of this study. Normative dual energy X-ray absorptibility data in Swedish children and adolescents. This cross-sectional study was designed to explore the findings of the physical education intervention study and also to fulfill the requirement of normative data to assess the growth in normal children and adolescents. So therefore, the aim of this study was to evaluate the age and sex-specific changes in anthropometric body composition and bone growth measurements, and also to evaluate the timing and magnitude of accrual of bone mass and bone size in multiple skeletal regions. This cross-sectional study based on 710 girls and 759 boys aged 6 to 30 years. All participants below the age 18 were recruited from 10 schools in the city of Malmö, and above 18 years were selected from surrounding communities. All these participants were more than 99% of the participants were healthy Caucasians without any lifestyle restrictions or medications or diseases known to affect bone metabolism or normal growth. If you look at the methodology, then height, body weight and were measured according to the standard protocols and BMI was calculated. Lean mass, fat mass and bone mass were measured in total body and appendicular skeleton, arms and legs. Then bone mineral content, bone mineral density measured at lumbar spine and femoral neck, including bone size and the bone area. Age and sex-specific normative data were plotted in 1-year age groups. If you look at the results, the development of anthropometry and bone mass measurements in the total body. You can see the height during the prepubertal period. The gain in height, weight and total body bone mass is linear and the rate of accrual is similar in both girls and boys. Peak rate of bone mineral accrual occurs at the onset of pubertal spurt, a period with sex differences become apparent. Then here the changes in muscle mass, total body muscle mass and appendicular muscle mass. Boys showed the higher muscle mass from the beginning, and with the pubertal growth spurt, sex differences became more apparent. If you look at the development of muscle mass, the gain in total body mass and the appendicular muscle mass showed a different pattern, with girls in general having a higher values compared to the boys throughout the measured age range. Then appendicular bone mass, bone mineral content and bone mineral density of arms and the legs were measured. The age and sex-specific discrepancies in the accrual of bone mineral content in the appendicular skeleton showed an extended period of increased bone mineral content into the adulthood. If you look at this development of lumbar spine in children and adolescents, girls reach peak velocity of bone mineral content and bone mineral density in lumbar spine roughly 1.5 to 2 years earlier than boys. Therefore, the bone mass increases more in girls than boys for the same chronological age. This could be due to an earlier onset of puberty in girls. These findings clarify the exercise-induced higher gain in lumbar spine bone mass and bone size of the girls in the intervention group of our intervention study. When we look at the development of femoral neck compared to the other skeletal sites, bone mineral content, bone mineral density, and the accrual of at the femoral neck shown different pattern in both girls and boys compared to the other skeletal sites. In that there is a tendency for early peak and decline from the femoral neck bone mass already at the end of second decade. Along with this, bone size and the bone area continue to increase into the third decade. This expansion of bone size is an important to counteract the loss of bone mass and reduce bone strength. In conclusions, adolescent boys showed higher bone mass and bone size throughout the measured age range except in lumbar spine. Then femoral neck bone mass and bone width showed different pattern compared to the other skeletal sites. This study needs to be further studied. The findings of femoral neck results need to be further studied because of this different development compared to the other skeletal sites. The present study reports the view of heterogeneous musculoskeletal development during growth. Based on these findings, this study was published in Acta Pediatrica in year 2000. It's a high impact SCI cited journal. Then move to next study. Femoral neck bone strength estimated by hip structural analysis in Swedish Caucasians aged 6 to 90 years. The development of femoral neck geometry is of crucial importance to increase the bone strength as a fracture preventive strategy in elderly. In our previous study, femoral neck showed age and sex specific growth pattern different to other skeletal sites as detected by conventional DEXA. Therefore, the objective of this study was to evaluate the age and sex specific changes in normative femoral neck geometry and biomechanical estimates at the femoral neck, and also to see whether these changes in femoral neck could counteract the age-related loss of bone mass to maintain bone strength in elderly. This cross-sectional study was based on 1,760 study participants. Then participants from age 6 to 19 were presented in 1-year age groups, and participants from 20 to 90 years were presented in 10-year age groups. Linear slopes were evaluated by joint point regression analysis using joint point program. Following femoral neck geometric indices were measured at the narrowest femoral neck to calculate the femoral neck bone strength. We look at the results here. The changes in femoral neck bone mass and bone size in children and adults. It shows in age 8 to 20 years, age 6 to 20 years. When plotting the age-specific changes in femoral neck bone mineral content, femoral neck bone mineral density, femoral neck periosteal diameter, and the endosteal diameter, the curves increased with higher ages until statistically significant breakpoints were reached at 17 years in girls and 19 years in boys, as shown by these arrows. We can see the change after this breakpoint in adults. A similar pattern was observed for these biomechanical properties also in this femoral neck, that is femoral neck cortical thickness, femoral neck cross-sectional area, femoral neck CSMI, and femoral neck section modulus. If you go back to previous slide, the changes in adulthood As you can see here, after the break points, while this femoral neck BMC and BMD have decreased, and femoral neck periosteal diameter and endosteal diameter have increased with advancing age. This showed the distribution of bone mass away from the neutral axis to enhance the bone strength, biomechanical strength. If you look at this, mean relative annual changes in femoral neck geometry and the biomechanical estimates before and after breakpoints are summarized in this table. If you look at the second half of this table, that is in elderly, from this breakpoint to elderly, you can see this relative decrease in bone mineral content, bone mineral density, cortical thickness, section modulus, CSMI, and section modulus. This decrease is more marked in women compared to the men. Whereas the relative expansion in this endosteal diameter and periosteal diameter from peak to old age was more marked in men than in women. And the expansion in this endosteal diameter was greater than the periosteal diameter, resulting in diminishing cortical thickness in both sexes, which is more marked in women than in men. The age-related decline in bone mineral density was partially compensated by this increase in bone diameters, that is both periosteal and endosteal diameters. Based on these results, following conclusions were made. Age-related loss of bone mass is partially compensated by increase in femoral neck diameters and biomechanical indices. These structural and biomechanical adaptations are important to maintain femoral neck bone strength in elderly. And also the preservation of femoral neck bone strength in elderly is more obvious in men than in women. Also, these age-related changes in femoral neck geometry from childhood to adulthood explain why women have higher fracture risk compared to the men. The findings of this paper were published in Calcified Tissue International in 2012, and the publication received NRC Merit Award. We look at the associations of anthropometry and body composition and femoral neck geometry in children and adolescents to see the importance of these other growth indicators: height, weight, fat mass, and lean mass, and influence on the development of femoral neck geometry in children and adolescents. Anthropometry and body composition are important factors associated with bone development. Therefore, identifying the factors associated with femoral neck geometry in children and adolescents is a fracture preventive strategy. Based on this background, this study was planned to evaluate the relationships between femoral neck geometric indices and femoral neck bone development predictors in children and adolescents. This cross-sectional study was planned into two groups: prepubertal group who are in the Tanner stage 1 and the adolescent groups who are in the Tanner stage 2 or above. Then 256 girls and 303 boys aged 6 to 13 years were included into this prepubertal group, and the 326 girls and 390 boys aged 10 to 19 were included into this adolescent group. Following femoral neck geometric indices measured by this hip structural analysis were used as dependent variables in this regression analysis. Then 5 femoral neck development predictors: this body weight, height, and bone BMI, and total body fat mass, and total body lean mass measured by DEXA were taken as these independent variables in the regression analysis. Pearson correlation advanced step forward multiple regression model was used, applied for the statistical analysis. If you look at the results in prepubertal group, this is the background information of anthropometry and body composition. This boys showed this boys are taller and heavier with a higher lean mass and lower fat mass compared to the girls of similar BMI and similar age. This means boys, adolescents also showed this similar pattern. If you look at this anthropometry, these findings indicate that BMI is not a good indicator to assess the growth, adequacy of growth in children, because it does not provide adequate information regarding this distribution of fat mass and lean mass between the soft tissue compartments. Simple regression showed that all 5 femoral neck development predictors, that is height, weight, BMI, total body lean mass, and log transform total body fat mass, correlated significantly with each femoral neck geometric index in girls and boys of both prepubertal and adolescent groups. In multiple regression model, in prepubertal children, all femoral neck development predictors correlated significantly with each femoral neck geometric index in both girls and boys in prepubertal group, as shown by this adjusted R square. In adolescents, the regression model shows better predictive values in boys than in girls, again as shown by this adjusted R square. Height showed the greatest independent positive association with all femoral neck geometric indices in prepubertal girls and boys, and total body fat mass showed negative association with femoral neck bone mass and geometry in prepubertal children and adolescent boys. But if you look at this adolescent result, total body lean mass showed greatest independent positive association with all femoral neck geometric indices, especially in boys, if you compare these boys' results. Then total body fat mass showed negative association with femoral neck bone mass and bone geometry in prepubertal children and adolescent boys. Based on these findings, following conclusions were made. Height in children and total body lean mass in adolescents showed the greatest independent positive association with femoral neck geometry. Fat mass showed negative association with femoral neck geometry, and bone negative association with femoral neck geometry and bone mass in prepubertal children and adolescent boys. The study found that BMI is not a good indicator to assess the normal growth. The findings of these results were presented in International Society for Clinical Densitometry in 2019, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and this abstract was selected as the finalist of the Best Technologist Award. Came to this overall conclusion of this study, whole study. Moderate intense physical activity has direct beneficial effect on increasing bone strength. Age-related loss of bone mass is partially compensated by changing bone geometry at femoral neck in elderly. Increasing this muscle mass and decreasing fat mass benefit in developing better femoral neck bone geometry. BMI is not a good indicator for assessing growth in children and adolescents. This is important news, as I think get your children to play in an enjoyable environment. Acknowledgements. This project would not have been possible without help of many people. First, my gratitude goes to my supervisors, Professor Magnus Carlson and Professor Henrik Arbori, at Lund University, Sweden, and also for their continuous support for my research. Co-authors of my publications, COP research team, study participants, teachers and parents were highly acknowledged. Dr. Namal Gamage, Dr. Alexander and the staff of the cardiothoracic unit, I have for the support extended to me during my stay in Lund and upon return to the Sri Lanka till I joined to the Faculty of Medicine, University of Rona. Then Professor Susirit Mendis, Professor Tilak Veerasurya, Professor B.G. Nanayakara and Professor Sarath Lekamwasam, I appreciate for keeping providing me an academic environment and continue my research in this academic environment. Then Professor Vasanta Karunasekara from Faculty of Medicine, University of Galle for showing me the pathway of research. From the beginning, I initiate early this research. Then University of Rona for travel grant to Malaysia. And also my colleagues and the staff in the Department of Anatomy is highly acknowledged for their all support. And my family, Janaka, Harindu, and Upani for their unwavering support. Sweet memories when I was in Sweden. This is my last day of dissertation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Alves. Many have lent a hand to make these sessions possible. To recognize the contributions they made, I invite the Joint Secretary of the Galle Medical Association, Dr. Ganaka Senaratne, to propose the vote of thanks.
President, Galle Medical Association, Dr. Arosha Disanayake. Chief guest, Professor Pali Hangin. Guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Andeniya. Orator today, Dr. Gagne Alvis. Past presidents of Galle Medical Association and council members. Vice Chancellor of the University of Runa, Professor Sujiva Amarasena. Dean, Faculty of Medicine, Dr. Sarath Kulratne, President, Sri Lanka Medical Association and Ceylon College of Physicians and Sri Lanka College of Internal Medicine, Director, Teaching Hospital Karapitiya, Teaching Hospital Mahamodara and Regional Director of Health Services, and distinguished guests including several past presidents of Ceylon College of Physicians. My dear students, on behalf of the President and the Council of Galle Medical Association, it is indeed my pleasure and privilege to thank all those who helped in numerous ways to make the 78th annual academic sessions of Galle Medical Association a success. At the outset, I wish to thank our chief guest, Professor Pali Hangin, past president of the British Medical Association, for the very embodiment of our theme for the year, Art and Science of Medicine, Enhancing Clinical Excellence with Humane Care. We are indeed honored by your presence and your words of wisdom. Our sincere thanks go to guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Andeniya, one of the finest cinema personality in our time, and the zenith of arts, for enlightening this audience by your gracious presence and your words on art of healing. Dr. Gagne Alvis, Senior Lecturer in Anatomy, the GMA Orator this year. Dr. Alvis' submission was awarded the GMA Oration for its originality and scientific merit. I thank the illustrious members of the Oration Evaluation Committee for the GMA for their commitment and hard work. My thanks goes to past presidents of the Galle Medical Association and Ceylon College of Physicians, and presidents, secretaries, and representatives of various colleges who are present here today. Your presence is a source of strength to us. I thank the consultant physicians and other consultants in the hospital of Southern Province, academic staff of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna, directors of the Teaching Hospital Karapitiya and Mahamodara, provincial and regional directors of health services for your gracious presence here in this evening, and all the help extended towards us in administrative matters and logistics. Our speakers and chairpersons of the main academic program, which will be unfolding from tomorrow, it's a great privilege to have assembled the cream de la cream of the medical academia of Sri Lanka to participate as resource persons. I'm very grateful for all of them. To all our members of the medical fraternity, both senior and junior, for their academic contribution in terms of participation and sharing knowledge at various workshops, which is going to happen tomorrow and day after, symposias and plenaries, and for the submissions of orations and abstracts. I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our eminent judges and members of the committees who took the challenge on difficult task of evaluating abstracts, publications, and special awards. We wish to thank the Dean, Faculty of Medicine, Dr. Sarath Kulratna, and his administrative staff for the excellent support given by allowing us to use this excellent and wonderful facility. I wish to thank from the bottom of my heart to the coordinators of the Galle Medical Association Community Dialogue, the Mutual Learning Forum, our pre-Congress workshop. Mr. Aroshan Nanayakkara, Mapalagama Nalakatero, and Mr. Asanka and Mr. Amoda were our coordinators in this program, along with the Mighty Pay 101 Funeral Aid Society. And our service providers, we sincerely thank all our service providers today and tomorrow and day after for a wonderful service provider. Southnet, Graphic Eye, Print House, Gold Arts, Jet Twin Lighthouse, Hasara, Cake and Spoon, Vishmi Food Cabin, and Anira Photo, and many more. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to all our sponsors for their generosity and unstinted support, without which an event of this glamour and enormity will not be possible. Let me thank our platinum sponsors first, George Stewart and GSK. Diamond sponsors, Boringer and Cipla. And the gold sponsors, Gates, Sun Pharma, 7 Seas, Lilly, AstraZeneca, and Abbott. Silver sponsors are Nestle Nutrition Institute, Calbe, Sandoz, Sali, Torrent Pharma, and Mankind. We have many more bronze sponsors, Truic, Tanabe, Mitsubishi, Durden's Hospitals, Ipca, Roche, Dr. Reddy's, USV, Dali Butler, Nestle Health Science, Farm Evo, Servier, and Rune Hospital, Avenir, Arciri Hospitals, Pfizer, Grace Biogen, State Pharmaceutical Corporation, AstraZeneca, Zydus, Sanofi, and Hatton National Bank. And other sponsors were Beximco Pharma, Biogenics, and Bago. Thank you very much. I wish to thank several friends who helped us in organizing these annual academic sessions and inauguration session. These are the helping friends from the faculty, Keshani, Mala, Asiri, Sampath, and Vasanta. Your services are really, really appreciated. Helping in the subcommittees. We have formed several subcommittees to run this program. We had so many medical delegates working in our subcommittees, especially from Truic, Sampath Karyawasa, Mashan, Chaturanga, Nirosh, and Kumudu. Your help in these subcommittees were really, really appreciated. And helping with presentation, Dinesh and Charit were mostly with us preparing this presentation. Thank you, Dinesh and Charit, for that. And the mace carrier today, Mr. Surya Sen. Thank you very much for being with us and being a partner with the GMA team 2019. And the group of pre-intern doctors, 9 energetic pre-intern doctors led by Dr. Methmal are the partners in organizing these academic sessions. They are Naoda, Lahiru, Hashini, Gayani, Taraka, Chamika, Madhava and Yashini for the extraordinary support in organizing, being the personal assistant to the resource persons, being hall managers, helping the pre-congress sessions, and being the graceful usherers in this evening. We are really thankful for your excellent support. You are going to witness an amazing cultural event in the next couple of minutes. I would like to thank in advance the medical students who are doing this. These are the singing group of students. They are Tisumi, Yashoda, Gayara, Vashaki, Nimesha, Kalana, Kavindu, Amila, Pasindu, Dhananjaya. The orchestra will be done by Vatsmi, Sandali, Medara, Dhananjani, and Vimod, Sandaru, Sheshan, Kavisha, Sachita, Dhanuka, Heshan, Sudeepa, Dasun and Sankar. And this is a dancing group of students in this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lahiru Niroshan, Supun Madhava, Hasita Madhushan, Sachini Kavindi, Sammani, Sajana, Hiruni, and Saumini. Thank you very much for your help given in enlightening this audience today. Special thanks should go to Dr. Harshini Rajapaksa, who orchestrated this cultural event, working with students day and night. Thank you very much, madam, for your gracious support for us. And our compeer today, Mr. Banuka, who is a talent from the goal, blossoming talent from the goal, and thank you very much for a job well done, Banuka. And the GMA staff, Sureka, Savitri, Nisansala. We are most grateful for your office staff for their commitment and dedication beyond the call of duty in order to make this event a success. And the ladies and gentlemen, GMA team 2019. In organizing this event, it has been a tale of the GMA team 2019, scripted and led by the president of the GMA over the past few months to fulfill his vision. All council members gathered around as subcommittees, taking responsibility to each and every division of this entire mission. Every subcommittee had a leader and few team members, along with president and 2 secretaries, to support them and carry out their decisions made. This made the council a very strong outfit, GMA team 2019. We want to stage a perfect, not a near perfect inauguration and annual academic sessions, as Dr. Ravindra Randhaniya said. This is how the team worked. I will elaborate on them, and my heartfelt gratitude goes to our team members. Ground plan and security. Converting a faculty auditorium to a conference venue, which hosts a conference in this caliber, is not an easy task. Our treasurer Aruna's meticulous planning and execution, along with his team, divided the venue into 10 departments, furbishing it and making all the arrangements. Prof. Sampath, our vice president, was instrumental in ensuring the security by taking several measures after discussions with the faculty security staff. IT, stage preparations and decorations. This committee was gifted by the artistic brilliance of its leader, Prof. Channa, which is duly supported by Dr. Isha by her silkiest decorations. Ladies and gentlemen, you can witness their wisdom right in front of your eyes. Editorial Committee. Two editors of the GMA team 2019, Dr. Gaini Puncheva and Dr. Nayan Larach, led this subcommittee, taking every document need to be printed under their belt. It was a monumental task to complete everything in time, but all the odds were defeated by the absolute commitment and dedication they had towards their work. Thank you very much. Finance Committee. Very precise and planned actions of our Treasurer, Dr. Aruna De Silva, and his team help in raising funds needed to carry out a program in this caliber. Invitation Committee, led by Dr. Hasheni, have taken the task of taking the most respected invitations to all our members, officials, and wish-wishers. All the enthusiastic members were in achieving this goal. Champa Vijayasinghe, Susita Amarasinghe, Chamal Fonseca, and Dr. Nalin Vijayaseka. Food Committee. It's up to Dr. Nayan Ilarachi, the brilliant leader of the Food Committee, and our most energetic social secretary, Dr. Ruan, along with their team to feed us today and next 2 days. They have been working tirelessly to achieve the task, and I am very certain that we all will enjoy the menus and delicious food served outside as a result of their commendable job. Publicity Committee. Dr. Janak Velhetti led the Publicity Committee to take the good news into the hearts of all our members and to the doorsteps of all the departments of Teaching Hospital and Karapitiya and Faculty of Medicine and Southern Peripheral Hospital. Procession arrangements. Prof. Mahinda and his team worked very hard in getting the most respectful procession procedures spot on from the beginning. Ordering new clocks, arranging a clock room, rehearsing the procession yesterday are some of the actions taken to achieve this target. Transport Committee. This very important task was led by Dr. Y.R.P. Jaisinghe, the Community Outreach Lead of the GMA Team 2019. Dr. Jaisinghe and his team make sure that every transport need is duly attended, bringing peace of mind for each of us. Resource Persons Liaison Committee. 30 most eminent speakers from every part of the island will attend the annual academic sessions starting from tomorrow to share their knowledge and expertise. It's by any means not a simple task to escort them on time to the podium erected at a medical faculty in a very busy suburb Galle, connected to its local center with very narrow roads. Dr. Varsha, our most energetic committee member, was tasked with this Herculean task along with the most energetic team of pre-intern doctors. The preparation gone into this task ensuring timely run program whilst taking the southern hospitality and the warmth of the GMA to the resource persons is enormous. Symposia coordinators. We will be sharing our theme with all the scholars in coming 2 days, running 7 symposia, 2 plenaries, and 4 Art of Medicine sessions in an intensive program. This needs a super coordination among speakers, chairpersons, IT team, and event organizers. This monumental task will be handled by our most experienced treasurers of GMA team, Dr. Kalum Deshapriya, our President-elect, Prof. Sampath Gunawardhan, the Vice President, Trishant Jayasekara, the Postgraduate Coordinator, and Dr. Arun Silla, Treasurer, and Dr. Susita Amarasinghe. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to extend our sincere gratitude for everyone of this esteemed audience who gathered here in this evening. Dear Madam, dear Sir, my dear students, we are honored by your presence. Thank you again for becoming our partners today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Senaratne. I now invite the members of the head table to take their seats in the audience to enjoy the forthcoming cultural show. Up next is a microcosm of Sri Lankan music throughout the ages, a short acoustic journey beginning from the seed of folk music, how music was entwined with every facet of day-to-day life, the vocal improvisation while toiling in the fields, the playful tunes that sprung from the spirit of competition, and the roaring chants that quelled anxieties and fears, mustering men to march into battle. These medical students hope to explore the roots of our musical identity and how, with various influences, it evolved into what it is today.
චිත්ත ගති ගුඳ ගත දෙඟත චිත්ත ගති ගුඳ ගත ගද්දික්තා රෙඟත් රෙඟුදතා
In this next bit, we venture into the soundtracks of Sri Lankan motion pictures. Familiar territory for most of you, but even more so for our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Ravindra Randhinia. Enjoy.
තනිමංසල අතරමං වෙලා හුදෙකලාව සුසුම් හෙල හදවත සනහා අතීතයේ ගිලී ගිය සතුට රැගෙන යලි වඩින් ආරාධනා
This last part is for the musical influences of the entire world, from Kerala Nadagam to the contemporary West, ending with a garnish of Baila.
Balisan diri Namaya balisan diri Mama dharmenne pura palana karami Inne medure pritiya vidimi
විවිදුණු සිත ඇතිව පුද දෙමු බැතිය කඳ සුරිඳුනි ඔබේ ඔද තෙද දැක හද විවිදුණු සිත ඇතිව පුද දෙමු බැතිය ඔබ යදුමට ආවා ඔබ යදුමට ආවා මුරුගා වඩි වේලා කරුවාරුල් කුමරා वडी बेला अरुवारुल कुमरा ඔබ යදුමට ආවා ඔබ යදුමට ආවා Josephine, Rosalind, Angeline, Catherine, Natalie, Catherine, piano, banjo, tamarind, mandolin, violin, loke known as a violin, viole, masano, sono viole, obe mage ate mevele, obe mihiri nagata nidale. නැලවේ ලදරුවරන් තොටිල්ලේ වියෝලේ ඔබව නැමා හැරගියේ ගීත ශාස්ත්‍රයේ කුමාරියේ විනෝදේ ඔබනේ සුරලියන්ගේ වියෝලේ මාගේ වියෝලේ මාගේ
my thanks goes to that ensemble of medical students for their wonderful performance. As we come to the end of the inauguration ceremony of the 78th Annual Academic Sessions of the Galle Medical Association, a few notices for your attention. The proceedings of the Galle Medical Association sessions will commence from 8 a.m. tomorrow and will continue for the entirety of the next 2 days. All guests are welcome to have refreshments and join the fellowship arranged in the lobby. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing till the ceremonial procession leaves the auditorium.
cultural event, working with students day and night. Thank you very much, madam, for your gracious support for us. Food committee. It's up to Dr. Your presence. Thank you again for becoming our partners today.